Thank you for joining us for the 2020 Hermana virtual conference. We are here as part of our Latina Leaders series, and we are so proud to be welcoming the president and CEO of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, Raquel Tamez. In 2017, she became CEO of SHPE, pivoting from a decorated 20-year career in law to one that focuses on empowering the Hispanic community through forward-thinking careers in STEM. Today, she uses her expertise in both fields to inform her greater mission as a Latina leader and advocate. We're honored to have her share with us her insights and what she's developed over the course of her journey. Please help me welcome Raquel Tamez.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. I'm really excited to be here.
We are so lucky to have you, and we're so proud to have you as our colleague on the board of directors of the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility. We love having another Latina leader sitting at that table. First, let's get into the conversation about what SHPE does, what you do. What does the organization do? What role do you play in that? And who do you serve?
No doubt. SHPE, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. In essence, we educate and empower Hispanics in STEM, from students to professionals. And we've been doing it for 46 years. The organization was born in a garage in East LA, and we have chapters, both student chapters and professional chapters, all over the country. We're organized into 7 regions. We're at most universities and most metropolitan areas. One strategic objective that we have is to have a SHPE chapter at every HSI, every Hispanic Serving Institute. But we provide year-round programming and events. So we have 9 signature events. Our leadership conference, NILA, which is the National Institute for Leadership Advancement, actually launched today. It kicked off today. And we've been preparing for our national convention, which is at the end of October. And both of these events are 100% virtual because of the pandemic. We're cautiously optimistic that our regional conferences, which are 7 of those that start mid-February, that we'll see where we are. We're hoping that those can be in person, but we shall see. But you can check out all of our programs on our website. We have a new website, a new logo, a new tagline, Leading Hispanics in STEM. I'm very humbled and honored to serve as the CEO of SHPE. I've been in my role a little over 3 years, and I'm excited to share more about SHPE and more about my journey.
We love it. And, you know, we have something in common. MANA was also actually founded in 1974. So we're in our 46th year as well. So, you know, with that age comes, you know, more responsibility, and, you know, there's more to look forward to in the future, right? Because you have such a beautiful past and history to build on, right?
Yes, and you know, I oftentimes say that SHPE has been doing STEM for 46 years, and it's not something, you know, something new and novel, or, you know, we're doing it because it's the new shiny thing that pays. We have been changing the lives of tens of thousands of Hispanics and their families for those 46 years, and we are going strong. When I was first contacted about the opportunity at SHPE, admittedly, I didn't know who SHPE was or what SHPE was. I asked the recruiter, do they build ships? I don't understand. And I had to do all this research. And so I say this because I think for a long time, SHPE was this best kept secret in STEM, and we can no longer be a secret. There's no Hispanic organization out there that should be a secret. We have to be out there, and which is why I'm excited to be here with Mana to tell you all a little bit about SHPE and to learn more about Mana too.
Well, that, you know, and that's exactly why we're doing this series, because there's often a disconnect between the work that we're doing at a national level, often here in Washington, New York, California, but then what our chapters and affiliates and individual members across the country and on the ground, it's different from what they see every day, right? And what we really want is for our members and our constituents to know which organizations are out there doing this work on their behalf every single day, right? And we want them to be pleasantly surprised how many of these organizations are led by Latinas,
I
right?
know, right? Feisty Latina executives.
Absolutely. So tell us about how you came to SHIP, and because you have a really interesting origin story in, coming through the corporate world and then circling back to the nonprofit
Yeah,
arena.
well, a long legal history. So I'm actually a lawyer. Uh, I went to law school at St. Mary's University School of Law. I'm from Texas. St. Mary's is in San Antonio. I started off as a trial lawyer and then went in-house and did litigation for Mary Kay Cosmetics and managed their labor and employment for their international subsidiaries. And then made my way into technology and managed global litigation for technology outsourcing companies, and eventually became the general counsel and chief legal officer for another very large national nonprofit whose mission was all about creating employment opportunities for persons with significant disabilities. And so in one way or another, when I look back at my career, it's always been mission oriented, first with the Department of Labor, because as a trial lawyer, I helped represent enforcement agencies like OSHA and Wage and Hour, and those agencies ensure that workers are safe and healthy and paid what they're owed, and that employers don't raid their pension plans, right?
Right.
And then with Mary Kay Cosmetics, it was all about the empowerment of the woman internationally. That was very powerful. And then when I went in house for technology outsourcing, I did a lot of work with the local bar associations, first in Dallas and then in DC. And it was all about Latina lawyers, because I used to say, we're like unicorns, you see it. We're like these mystical creatures, you see us and then you don't. And we need more Latina lawyers. But in my previous role to SHIP, where I was general counsel and chief legal officer, for those of you who might not know, the working relationship between the CEO and the general counsel is a very intimate one, work-wise. And when, I've been there 3 years, a new CEO comes in and he wants his own team. And that's a reality of, the work world, right? Corporate America, and just organizations. And so I found myself displaced. And let me tell you, it was scary and it was not fun. But thankfully, over my many years in my career and nurturing relationships and really building my personal board of directors and always having staying in connection with executive recruiters, I was able to learn about the opportunity at SHIP. And like I mentioned earlier, I didn't know anything about SHIP, and I thought I was a Latina in the know. And I was like, how do I not know about this amazing organization? Once I started to research it and learn and talk to people and even interview people when the opportunity came my way. And I will tell you, it was a challenging decision for me because exploring the opportunity with SHIP, I would be essentially giving up my legal career. It would be moving from chief legal officer to CEO. And I worked really hard, in school and in law school and then in my career. And I was really kind of at the top of my career, and I could have gone and done something bigger and more grand, perhaps. But the mission of SHIP really resonated with me because I looked back at my life and I looked back at my academic and my early professional career, and I said, my success I owe to my mentors and my career sponsors and to financial assistance and scholarship and training. And that's what SHIP does. And if there was a way, and here was this opportunity for me to give back in this way, to kind of bring all of my skills and my experience and credentials and really take my leadership to a whole nother level, from chief legal officer to CEO. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try. I'm going to be brave. And I'm going to go for it. And I honestly didn't think that out of the many applicants, that I would be selected because I was a lawyer and SHIP is about really engineers. And here I am 3 years later. And I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish so far. We've stabilized the organization, my team and I. We're growing exponentially. We've broken all kinds of records. We were predicting 10,000 people at our convention. We've grown in members. I've grown membership by almost 4,000 in 3 years. We've grown our chapters by over 50 across the US, and just really our attendance at our convention by near 3,000, from 6,000 to over 9,000 in 3 years. So there's power in what we're doing. And if you think about it, Hispanics are the future. Latinas are the future. And I'm just very honored and humbled to do this. It's not easy. I'll tell you, it is lonely. You probably know this, Amy. It's lonely to be the CEO.
No
A
doubt.
lot of people don't know that, because you're part of the board, but you're not, and you're part of the staff, but you're not. And so who do you commiserate? And I commiserate with my comadre here. We were just talking before this. So yeah, that's my career trajectory.
Well, the work you are doing is remarkable. And, I often say that to do nonprofit work, you really have to have a love of your organization, for your community, and it really is a calling in many ways. And your own experiences called you to serve the community, and you have such a great vantage point from a leadership standpoint and from the view of a national organization. What would you say is the most pressing issue for Latinos and Latinas right now, what related to STEM or otherwise, as we look at the tumultuous times that we're in, the pandemic that we're in, the economic uncertainty. There are a lot of question marks right now, and so it's hard to kind of condense that into thinking at the level of, all right, what's most important for us right now? So what would you say is most important?
There's not enough of us in centers of power. There's not enough of us in decision-making positions. We certainly need more of us in STEM and in law and other centers of power, for example, in academic institutions as presidents, in military, even in the military, in officer position as opposed to troop, positions. You look across the centers of power and we're not there. We're not fully represented based on our population numbers, based on our critical mass numbers. And I think one thing that we need to focus on, and I'm not saying anything earth-shattering, is I am a firm believer and proponent that education is empowerment. And that's one thing that SHIP does. We work along the entire pathway. I don't say pipeline. And the reason I don't say pipeline is that pipeline is fixed. You're either in it or you're not. And at least with respect to a pathway, there are on-ramps and off-ramps. And so as a community and as organizations like SHIP and Hermana, I think it's important for us to come together, work together, and really get more Hispanic students on that pathway, that education pathway. And no doubt, not every student is going to go to university, but there are other ways to change the socioeconomic trajectory of that individual. For example, with certifications and other types of credentials. It's what we call at SHIP the new collar. It's not blue collar, it's not white collar, but you still need to know some STEM, basic STEM, math, coding, and then really take on jobs that need that skill set, that associate degree, that certification, but not necessarily the 4-year degree. And that is very different than the traditional SHIP model, but it is something that we're exploring. So to sort of loop around to your initial question, what is the most pressing issue? representation in all of its forms, in all levels. And we need to do more to really back each other up. There are other tribes that do that and do it very well. And I'd like to see our Hispanic community, our Hispanic tribe do better in that regard.
I love that. And I love the notion of the new collar jobs. I grew up in Texas also. I grew up on the Texas Gulf Coast where oil industry jobs are what everyone work in. And, you don't necessarily need that 4-year degree. There are those certifications. There are those community college programs that you go through, those technical programs. And, those are great middle class, upper middle class paying jobs that provide families with upward mobility. So I
Right.
love that you guys are concentrating on that.
Right,
Um,
and that's why I mentioned the pathway, because you can go to community college, and for me, community college, students at community college are dynamic, they're resilient. Imagine, think about everything that they're managing. Sometimes a family, a full-time job, sometimes 2 jobs, and they're going to school and doing well. Um, who doesn't want that type of person on their team, right? But even for those that go and pursue associate degrees or some kind of, let's say, a welding credential, many of those companies will then pay for those individuals to go on and pursue their degree. And so that's why we talk about the pathway of on ramps and off ramps. And it's just really opening up the aperture. We have a community engagement program called Noche de Ciencias and Dia de Ciencias, and we bring in entire families because it's the family, it's the parents, it's la mama who's going to really influence and ultimately make a decision whether a child is going to go to further education. And at Noche de Ciencias, Dia de Ciencias, we address the 2 main barriers for Hispanics in STEM: awareness and access. A lot of our Hispanic families have heard of STEM, they know it's important, but they might not know really what it is. And we have hands-on activities, and it's not just about talking about opportunities, it's talking about the possibilities and really looking at the big picture and the long term and the vision, right? Having a vision. And we really try and address obviously the immediate need of some families where they need to keep food on the table and keep the lights on and go pushing their child to go get a GED and go get that job. And so what we try and do is, yes, the reality of the opportunities and compensation and things like that, but really about the limitless possibilities of a career in STEM.
so Raquel, tell us how someone would go about engaging with SHIP and becoming a member or participating in the programming. Where would they start? Where's the on-ramp?
Well, go to our website, and we have junior chapters. So those are our chapters in high school, and there's a way to identify those at our website. There are student chapters, so those are chapters at our many different universities. Professional chapters are in most metropolitan areas, and those are all identified um, on our website. Even if you're not in STEM, even if you're not a student pursuing engineering or some kind of science discipline, we welcome everyone. We have associate memberships. So those are individuals who are interested in being engaged with SHIP because we have a lot to offer. We are an organization of leaders. We build and support and nurture leaders that happen to be studying engineering or science or math. So we welcome anyone who's interested in really honing and sharpening and nurturing their leadership skills. We have programs all year long. We have local chapters. We have our regions. All of that is information that can be identified on the website.
Wonderful. So the last thing, we have so many young women in our organization, our Hermanitas program for it's a mentoring program for girls in middle and high school, and they get mentored with someone in our organization throughout the year. And I'm wondering Yeah, I like to go back and think about what I was thinking when I was that age, or what I was wondering about when I was that age. Um, if you could go back and tell your younger self something when you were in middle school or in high school, what would you go back and tell yourself?
Well, I would certainly continue to support my pursuit of excellence in my studies. Um, my parents are immigrants from Mexico. My dad was a migrant farm worker. We grew up in the barrio in Houston. It wasn't as if, I had my folks prompting me to go and study and to take on that extracurricular activity and to go do this and go do that. I just found it within myself. And my parents did make sacrifices to send me to private schools because unfortunately the schools in my neighborhood were really, really bad. And I'm forever grateful to my parents for that. The interesting thing about that is that I went to school where everybody else had more, always more. And I didn't want to feel less than. So I really applied myself in my studies because I thought I'm just as good. And that really motivated me. So I often tell my members that whatever you're doing, strive for excellence. Be an excellent engineer that is Hispanic versus you're a Hispanic engineer. There's a difference. And I used to say that to my baby lawyers too. Be an excellent lawyer that is Hispanic, as opposed to being a Hispanic lawyer. And I think in middle school, it's not too late, and certainly in high school, it's not too late to really be thoughtful about your relationships. Those are important. Your mentorship relationships, people who want to see you succeed, because there are folks all around you that genuinely want to see you succeed, and you need to seek them out, even if they're not within your own family, because I know that that's a reality. You have teachers and advisors and mana. Really look at those relationships, and I think it's really about the quality of those relationships, not the number of relationships. And as you start to hone in on that, because that was something that I think I learned too late in my career, because my papi used to tell me, Raquel, you're not going to work to be everybody's best friend. You're there to be an excellent lawyer, no doubt. But what another mentor of mine said later on is that relationships are the currency of the workplace. That's very important for you to understand, which is why I'm suggesting to you, and which is what I would have told myself back then, is to really nurture those relationships. It's about quality, not quantity. Because the reality is that once you start working and you start pursuing your career, there's a lot of truth to it's who you know, not necessarily what you know. And more importantly, it's who knows you, which circles back to be excellent at everything you do.
That is such great advice. And, it just is a reminder of what a fantastic treasure you are, Raquel. I think that everyone who sees this is just going to know and feel a little more secure in the fact that they've got someone like you advocating for them, speaking on their behalf, and, just being that beacon of leadership. And, I think that anyone who questions whether Latinos and Latinas are going to become the force in STEM careers that we need to be, need look no further than you to know that that's absolutely going to happen.
And
And it's going to
you're
be in
right
no
there
small measure to your work.
Thank you, amiga. And you're right there with me, right? Feisty Latina Executives Unite and all the Latinas out there. And I would certainly encourage you to look at our SHPTINAs program, Igniting Latinas in STEM. We are on fire with our SHPTINAs program. So check it out on our website. We welcome you. And I can't wait to collaborate with Mana across the US with our SHPTINAs.
We are ready to do that, and we have so many women out there who are dying to be part of this. And I think that this is a great, as you said, an on-ramp to figuring out how we do that, how we move forward together and collaborate and help each other and support each other, because that's what it's going to take, right? Making sure that we're all together, the rising tide lifting all boats. And so
Absolutely.
we're so grateful for your time, for you, and for everyone watching. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll hope you'll join us for the other sessions of the 2020 Hermana virtual conference. And of course, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Mana National. We'll see you soon.